Welcome back to Collecting Modern Classic Cars, and in today's video I want to compare two BMW E46 3 Series models. I've got two in the collection. We have our daily driver, the red Imola red 325 coupe you see on the right hand side. That is a facelift car. So the car was facelifted in 2003 in the UK, so that's the model on the right. And we also have a pre-facelift coupe, which is the blue 328 CI seen here on the left. So those are the two cars that we're going to be comparing. So from the rear, one of the big differences, the easy tells between a facelift and non-facelift car, are the rear lights. The pre-facelift cars have the orange indicators, and the facelift cars have the clear indicators, and they've got these sort of circular, almost LED type bulbs, which the pre-facelift cars don't have. So that's one of the big differences that you'll note. The bumpers are different as well. The rear bumpers are different. This non-sport pre-facelift car has this sort of black strip that runs along the bottom with the two sort of light reflectors, and this M Sport variant has the sort of diffuser type detail that you can see here. This car also has parking sensors. The tailpipes are different. The M Sport has black twin pipes. The non-M Sport facelift car has these rather nice chrome twin tailpipes. But apart from that, at the rear, largely the same. The M Sport car has this very slender rear spoiler. I'm sure it does nothing dynamically, but it looks quite nice. The other car, the pre-facelift car, non-M Sport, doesn't have a spoiler at all. Nice and clean boot lid. And our facelift car happens to have sat-nav, which means you get the shark fin on the roof. Pre-facelift non-sat-nav car has a clean roof line. So there you go. You can clearly see that the two cars are heavily related. There's just some sort of detail differences in there. Arguably, the front of the car is actually where you can tell more of the differences. There are quite a few changes, albeit fairly subtle ones. The main one being the headlights. So the pre-facelift car has this sort of slightly bulkier design of headlight with the orange indicator. Facelift car has this sleeker, thinner headlight with the clear indicator showing. So the pre-facelift with this sort of two lower semicircular details, and the sleeker facelift headlight there, which gives it a more aggressive look actually. The kidney grills are different as well. I don't know if you can tell, but the top right or the top corners of the outer corners of the kidney grills on the facelift car are slightly pointy. There's I suppose a different shape on the pre-facelift grills. And this swage line that runs between the grille and the headlight that runs up the bonnet towards the windscreen is more pronounced on the pre-facelift car, slightly more subtle here on the facelift car. It's there, but it's more subtle. Big difference in the wing profile. This pre-facelift, the blue car, has this quite pronounced lip for the wing, which is smoothed out on the facelift. So you still get the flare, but it's a much more subtle flare, if you will. It's quite a pronounced flare on the pre-facelift blue car, and the indicator position is quite different. You can see the wing design's different. So pre-facelift car with the orange indicators, facelift car with the sort of triangular white indicator fitted much higher in the front wing. Also have different bumper designs, so the pre-facelift car has a much more I suppose open bumper, if you will. The 4 vertical slats. Facelift M Sport car, much more aggressive bumper with the sort of splitter design, if you will, on the ends. There you go, the splitter. Yeah, it's a much more aggressive design detail, and the sort of mouth under the number plate is quite, and the mesh is quite pronounced on the M Sport car. So the overall look is what is a much more aggressive one. Subtle differences, but they make quite a big difference actually overall. You can also see the ride height difference here between M Sport and non-M Sport. If you look at where the mirrors are, the blue car, the driveway actually rolls down to the left, if you will. So the blue car is actually sat slightly higher, sitting slightly higher, lower. What am I on about? The side profile differences are slightly more subtle. As you can see, the silhouette of the car, the two cars, very, very similar indeed. What the non-M Sport facelift car has the biggest difference, I think, is in the chrome trim that surrounds the window. You've got the Hofmeister kink on the back window, typical of all BMWs of this sort of era. But you've got a large chrome trim around the window. It's very elegant and classy. The M Sport car, that trim is a high gloss, what BMW call high gloss shadow line, so it's a gloss black trim instead of the chrome. Makes quite a difference really to the feel of the car, I suppose, or the look of the car, the aggression. One of the other differences between the two cars is in the side sills, the sort of side skirts, if you will. On this M Sport car, you've got a sort of deeper flared. What's that? Get rid of that leaf. Got a deeper flared side sill, a sportier side sill, if you will. And as you see on the non-M Sport pre-facelift car, you've got a more, I suppose, elegant side skirt, a less pronounced side skirt on the car. And there we are. There's the two of them side by side, but really it's this sort of frontal area that's the main difference. You can see actually here the difference in the side indicator positions, much higher on the red facelift car, lower on the blue pre-facelift car. There we go. God, these things do look good, don't they? Doesn't matter whether it's a facelift or a pre-facelift car, M Sport car or non-M Sport car, these E46s look stunning. Okay, so let's get into the interior of these two cars. What you're going to see is quite a contrast between the two cars, but actually it's as much about the colour options that the original owners ordered and the tick boxes on the options list than it is about facelift and non-facelift. So the blue pre-facelift car, the 328, has a lovely light interior. It's gorgeous in here, very light and airy and bright. The M Sport has a much more somber interior, I suppose ultimately a sportier looking interior. But I've got to say I really do like the pre-facelift interior, particularly in this colour scheme with the cream carpets, cream lower dash, cream headlining. It's also helped by the glass sunroof on this particular model. So the detail changes aren't massive actually in terms of dash architecture. It's just down to what each individual owner, I suppose, chose. This car, high gloss myrtle wood trim, which looks super elegant, very, very classy. I totally get why the owner ordered that. This M Sport car has a sort of, I suppose, a black metallic trim finish. You'll see just here, sort of almost carbon fibre effect. That's the standard M Sport trim. I've fitted some high gloss black trim pieces like this one here dotted around the interior, just because I think it tends to lift the interior up. Black headlining, as is fairly typical on an M Sport model. You could also have, as well as black, you could have a cream interior, you could have a sort of light silver grey interior. M Sports come with these sportier seats with sort of more pronounced bolsters and this sort of forward section that fits underneath your thighs, which moves forwards and backwards. So you can see quite pronounced sporty bolsters on the M Sport car. A non-M Sport car has a flatter seat design, still very, very comfortable seats. You could do hours and hours in here, and you don't get the under thigh support that you do on the M Sport seats. Whether you miss it or not is, I suppose, partially down to personal preference. This pre-facelift car doesn't have sat nav, so this is what you would typically be faced with: a BMW business stereo, tape deck. This particular car's got a 6-disc CD changer in the boot, but this is what a non sat nav optioned central dash would typically look like. Our M Sport car has sat nav, and because it's a facelift car, it has the widescreen sat nav screen that you can see here. If this was a pre-facelift car with sat nav, that screen would be broadly half the size that it is on this car. This is the M Sport steering wheel, so you get a natty little M badge at the on the bottom spoke, and the thickness of the steering wheel is bolstered, so it's a thicker wheel, and you can see the button design for things like the cruise control and the stereo. A non-sport model, or a pre-facelift non-sport model, this is the steering wheel, so it's still relatively thick, but you can see the thumb area isn't there that there is on the M Sport model, and the detail around the buttons has changed, so the design of the steering wheel's slightly different. There we go. Albeit that steering wheel actually is a sports steering wheel. There's the tyre pressure monitor that this particular example has. So yes, this 328 actually has a sports steering wheel actually, even though it looks different to the facelift car. Here we go. Those are the dials. Oh, managed to stab the throttle accidentally. So you can see on the face on the sport model, the dials here. Hopefully you can see they're a sort of grey finish, a graphite grey. This lovely italic font on the dials. Red line on this car, 6,500. This is a 325. And we'll just pop into pre-facelift. Dials here are black as opposed to the graphite grey. Very similar font. Red line on this 328 at 6,000, so slightly lower red line. Yeah, I do like this interior. The rear of the car, in both options, they're the same. You've got this sort of heavily bolstered outer area where the seat belt sits, which just sort of holds your rear seat passengers in place while you're cornering. Nice and bright and airy here in the back. That central armrest does pull down. Some cars are optioned with a ski hatch. And there's the M Sport version. So there's no difference to the seats. They're not shaped any differently. Again, central armrest. And as befits the rest of the interior, it's a slightly darker feel in the back of the M Sport car, mainly because of the headlining differences. So there, M Sport, non-M Sport. So I think really these things are just down to personal preference as much as anything else. Either way round, the cabins are a lovely place to spend some time while some hours away behind the wheel. So hopefully this video has given you a good idea of the differences between a pre-facelift and a facelift car. Also some of the differences between an M Sport and a non-M Sport model. Ultimately with these things, this is down to personal preference. If you want your E46 3 Series to be to look very sporty, then you're likely to prefer the facelifted M Sport car. If you want your E46 coupe to look elegant and svelte, you're likely to want to go for a pre-facelift non-M Sport car. The facelifted non-M Sport car just looks, in my opinion, a touch awkward. The more aggressive facelift bodywork really does need the sport body kit to carry it off, whereas the pre-facelift 3 Series, the blue car here, I think that just looks so elegant and fantastic. It doesn't need a body kit, it doesn't need spoilers, it just looks fabulous as it is. So, but as with all of these things, personal preference. The great thing about the E46 3 Series is you can have a car in pretty much any spec that you choose. They made so many of them and there were so many options that you really get to choose the flavour that you want. So hopefully this video has been of interest. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed making this one, getting the two cars side by side, just looking at some of the differences. Thank you for watching, thank you for supporting the channel, and I look forward to bringing you plenty more content in the very near future. So thanks for watching.